Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Hello and welcome to Forbes India Presents Ultimate 120 in association with Oppo. I'm Ritu Bhandari. On the show today, we're talking about brands and companies that have built endurance and stayed resilient through many storms and have continued to evolve with changing times. How exactly have these companies built this resilience? How are they weathering the COVID-19 pandemic at this point in time? What will the new normal look like for them, and how are they harnessing emerging technologies to step into the future? Those are some of the questions that we are aiming to answer here today, and I'm very privileged to be joined by three leading industry veterans. We are welcoming Dr. R.S. Sodhi, Managing Director, Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation, that owns the brand Amul; Balbir Singh Dhillon, Head of Audi India; and Jayant Khosla, Managing Director at VLCC Healthcare. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks very much for joining us here today. We are talking about endurance and how you actually build that through your many brands, and all of you have been in the business for many, many decades. So let me first begin by talking to you about the current storm that your companies are weathering, and that is COVID-19. Dr. Sodhi, if I may begin with you. Amul, of course, a brand that provides milk, which is an essential commodity. So I'm sure on the demand front, you didn't see too much of a hit even during the pandemic. But on the supply side, what has it been like to collect milk from 36 lakh small farmers twice a day, supply it across the country? And what about other products like ice cream, etc.? What have been the big challenges?
Mridul, you're right. This during whole lockdown period of under 30 days, there is no disruption in the supply chain. We call it C2C or B2C, cow to consumer or buffalo to consumer. Not whereas milk or milk products are the essential products in the part of food, and these products were allowed to be distributed all over India. But you also to see milk is also like any other agriculture commodity source of livelihood. Our milk is for 100 million rural milk producers, and out of that 80% are landless and marginal farmers whose major source of income is milk, selling milk to the society or to the contractors. So we ensured that milk is collected. So one side we ensured that milk is collected at 18,500 milk collection centers. Milk is transported through sanitized 10,000 milk tankers to the about 84 dairy plants. And then after that milk is processed and distributed all over India to more than 500 cities. Besides the cooperation which we got from our all supply chain partners, I mean, you talk about our transporters, you talk about our processing centers of workers, distributor, retailers. The biggest help came from the administration, local administration, that is the collectors and the other thing, and the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Ministry of Animal Husbandry. During this COVID, we got around 15 to 17% more milk. And during 130 days, we paid 18,000 crore cash into the hands of the 36 lakh milk producers when people are not getting anything.
Right. Indeed, milk, of course, continues to remain recession proof no matter where the markets go. Milk is an essential commodity and perhaps will remain so, but not so much for luxury cars. Balbir, the auto sector was in pain all of last financial year, and then the pandemic happened. The lockdown came at a time when the financial year was just closing. You, of course, started online sales of luxury cars. Give me a sense of how that has fared. What else did you do to keep business going? And do you imagine that this year is going to remain sluggish?
Well, honestly, you've answered two of my questions already that last year was sluggish. And this year also, if you remember, we were to make a change from BS4 vehicles to BS6 vehicles when we were moving from March to April this year. So while we were doing so, the pandemic hit. To be honest, at this point in time, I only want to talk forward because we have come out of it and we've come out of it together. And I am sure in the coming months, we will see the growth coming back as the festive season comes into play. But a little bit of what we have done in past couple of months is also important to share. You remember when the pandemic hit us and hit us very, very strong, the most important thing for us was to take care of people. So we had to take care of people, whether the people are at our factories or the people who are working in our offices or people at dealerships. So, safety of people. So most of the people started working from home. The second thing which we also is very, very important is the whole supply chain. We have to look at completely from end to end, and we have to see what is the most vulnerable ones. In our whole supply chain, it is either us or our suppliers or our dealer partners. So most of the most difficult time was for our dealer partners. So what we also did was we also brought in certain programs in place wherein the cost, when wherever possible, we have taken over the cost from our dealers so that they can sustain through these times. But most important thing I would say through this time was communication, whether it was a communication with our customers, whether it was a communication with our dealer partners or our suppliers or our own employees. So through this time, we have been communicating very rigorously.
Mr. Khosla, coming to you, fitness, health, and wellness categories have had some sort of a mixed response during the pandemic. While products like immunity products, health, safety, hygiene products have done well, online fitness classes have done well. At the same time, brick and mortar fitness centers, gyms, etc., have been shut down, and their businesses have been very badly hit. You've, of course, pivoted to manufacturing sanitizers. What else have you done to keep business going? What else have you done to add new revenue streams in these times?
I can just say that an event and an experience like this is an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. But the one thing which we did across businesses is we stayed closest to our customers. So the customer engagement programs in each of the businesses, whether it was leveraging the social platform, sharing with the customer on how to do it yourself, ensuring the courier products, leveraging e-commerce, launching products which are more relevant like hand sanitizers, moving from not only looking good, which is beauty, to staying good, which is wellness, and graduating onto feeling and staying good and launching immunity boosting services for our customers, which was the need of the hour. Similarly, in our skill development business, we changed the entire business model and leveraging digitization and technology, we started giving our theoretical classes leveraging the web. And we had our centers wherein the practical and the demos happened.
Right. Okay. So our focus today in this conversation is on endurance. And Dr. Sodhi, if I may come to you, Amul is a brand from pre-independence days. It's a brand that has stayed resilient through many, many decades. Give us a sense of, say, two or three turning points in the whole Amul story, which you would attribute to building resilience, building endurance for the brand. How have you gone about transforming or pivoting products or services as consumer tastes and preferences have changed?
Mriduji, let me tell you, food is one thing which does not change with the time. I mean, Amul is a 74 years brand. So our always efforts are that how to ensure that same taste, same ingredients are being given to our valued consumer. So to make a brand very, very contemporary and liked by the consumer, one has to see how you can ensure your brand is relevant. More than that, because your food, it is trustworthy, available, and affordable. Because India is a country of lower middle class. So we have ensured that with the change in time to make our brand contemporary and relevant.
Audi again has a very rich history of over 100 years. Of course, customer preferences have changed with times. Technology keeps evolving every few years. Audi, of course, makes significant investments into research and development. What else would you attribute this whole resilience and endurance building of the brand to?
As I mentioned before, I think people is the most important topic that we are talking here because we are in the business of people. And what we have done last couple of months, I would say specifically because of this pandemic situation, is a focus on digitalization. So you see, what we have gone through last couple of months is, people have been confined to their homes. So during these times, we have taken multiple digitalization initiatives, whether it is to do with connected cars, whether it is to do with searching a new car, whether it is to do with booking of your servicing of your car. So all these parameters, when it comes to taking care of a car, is primarily digitalized now. So there are multiple layers in finalizing a deal which we take through. So what we've done is more or less almost all the places now we have a digital footprint.
Right, absolutely. Communication is key for any kind of success at any given point in time, really. But also, Mr. Khosla, VLCC is also a brand that's present in many geographies. It has existed for over 3 decades. Now, in these 3 decades, the ideas of beauty, around nutrition, around research and development, around food, holistic health, etc., have really, really seen sea change. So at VLCC, that started out as a brand with more focus on perhaps looking good, weight loss, etc. How have you moved with the times to embrace this whole idea around holistic health?
So one thing was, with this pandemic came a huge opportunity. You see, whether you are an established brand of 100 years or you are a startup, nobody was ready for this. Nobody had a disaster recovery plan for this kind of an extreme, global, and a long-term scenario. So I think what has helped our brand to become even stronger in this kind of a scenario is that the brand has continually evolved itself over a period of time based on the feedback from the customer, quickly converting that insight into an execution plan. And that's how we graduated from being a wellness service provider to manufacturer of products, to skill development, to having beauty at home, vanity tube, etc.
Right. Okay, great. Wonderful to hear that. On that note, let's take a short break right now. On the other side, the conversation continues, and we'll find out from these three leaders how their respective companies are embracing digital technologies to stay ahead of the curve. Stay with us. Welcome back to Forbes India Presents Ultimate 120 in association with Oppo. On the show today, I'm talking to business leaders about what helps keep their brands resilient through many years, what helps them endure storms like the COVID-19 pandemic that we are currently in, and what the new normal for each of them is going to look like. And Dr. Sodhi, we were talking about digital transformation even before COVID-19 struck us. A lot of companies have had to accelerate their digital transformation journeys thanks to the pandemic, increasing efficiencies, increasing employee productivity. Where in this whole journey is Amul today? How are you harnessing emerging technologies? And what are you doing with the humongous amount of data that you're generating on a daily basis?
Mirutuji, during this COVID or lockdown, if we could ensure milk procurement availability, it is because of the digital transformation which you have taken last 10 to 15 or 20 years. Our digital transformation start from the 36 lakh farmers end, where they connected through their individual app with our centralized system, where they know that how much milk they have given to the village cooperative society, what was the quality, what money credit to their account. Besides that, all the veterinary services, when their cow has come to heat, calling the doctor for artificial insemination or pregnancy testing or the time of delivery, all through is the app base. Then GPS in all our road milk tankers ensured that we knew where tankers have been stopped. Similarly, digital technology has been used extensively for the distribution. During this COVID, the biggest achievement, biggest, I think the positive point is our trust on digital transformation.
Let me also bring in the auto sector experience. Balbir, Audi, of course, always invests heavily into technology. Give me a sense of where you are, particularly in India, in your digital transformation journey. How are you harnessing technologies like Internet of Things, etc.? We have been talking about driverless cars. We are talking about connected mobility for the future. What are some of the things that Audi India is experimenting with?
Well, a lot of them, to be honest. As Mr. Sodi said, digitalization, we've already reached a stage where all of us have been working for last many, many years. And I always say digitalization is not, a destination, but a journey. Whatever you have achieved today is already of past. So we have to evolve this continuously. We have done a lot of this, whether it is to do with, AR or a VR experience for our customers. So from pre-buying experience to buying experience to post-buying experience, every place this digitalization exists today. So basically, at a press of a button, we want to offer everything to our customers. Through the journey, we've also invested in, let's say, connected cars. Already, I was just giving example some time back that, sitting in your drawing room, you can see, you can decide which car you want to buy. All those things are already available. But at the same time, all our cars which we are selling now are also connected cars. So for an example, you have an app, you can see through your app what is the level of fuel in your car, or what is the level of battery in your car. So there are so many parameters which you can check sitting in your drawing rooms.
Again, VLCC is a brand that's catering to perhaps many age groups. And today, India, in terms of demography, is perhaps at the youngest that we've seen in our lifetimes, with the median age being at about 29 years, 65% of our population being under the age of 35. And yet, yours is a brand that has been around for over 3 decades. So, you are, in a sense, catering to multiple generations at one point in time. How do you do that, and how are you using technology to really create memorable customer experiences for each of the age groups that you cater to?
No, thank you. Very interesting question. I think all industries, whichever you look at, whichever touches a human being or anything else, do now clearly realize that digital transformation is critical not only for growth but for survival. And it is irrespective of size or your on ground presence, etc. I think the way VLCC has done it is we have had a huge customer base, 15 million customer base we have had. We have always relied that whatever services we launch should take into account our customer history, and each of our solution is customized. So even 15 years back, 20 years back, we used to keep data in a very sensible and a logical manner. Now with technology, whether it is artificial intelligence, augmented reality, big data crunching, we are in a very good position because we have always had the foundation wherein this was a very critical component on how we deliver the service.
Right, and we are already doing that. Virtual collaboration, indeed, this time has really shown us some great tectonic shifts in every sector. So let's do a little bit of crystal ball gazing right now. Let's talk about the new normal that each of you is envisioning for your respective sectors. Dr. Sodi, from an Amul perspective, what is the big tectonic shift that you're preparing for? I know that milk is an essential commodity. It continues to remain recession proof to a large extent, but I see you've launched some immunity boosting drinks as well. What else are you going to pivot into in terms of product, process, or advertising as you envision the post COVID-19 world?
Well, Mridul, you are right. During this COVID, we learned that there is a demand for immunity boosting product. First thing is we used milk is also immunity booster. So we started 2, 3 campaigns to promote how milk is a immunity booster. Side by side, we launched besides the immunity boosting turmeric milk, the ginger milk, the tulsi milk, ashwagandha, or even for giving prasad in the temples in the septic pack of Panjamrat. Besides that, we launched 3, 4 immunity boosting ice creams. And also now coming out because of demand for branded packs and trustworthy branded ingredients, we have come out with some dairy fat based bakery products. And also one has to understand during this other thing which we have learned is the importance of multi production base, because if ice cream is gone down by 90%, shifting resources to manufacture ice creams, making more of a cheese or paneer or ghee from the same milk and same manpower.
So, from an auto perspective, Balbir, we've been talking about shared, connected, and electric mobility for the future for a while now. How well poised is Audi to stay on top of some of these trends, particularly in India? And do you see any of this changing post COVID-19?
What we have been working for the last couple of years have been on a long-term strategy for India, which still remains very, very intact, because in India, mobility is still, we just have 22 cars for every 1,000 people. So there is a lot of mobility which is yet to happen. So there is, we'll have to embrace the challenges that we face as we move on. So our focus at Audi India has been on four, key pillars under our strategy 2025, which, the top of the pyramid is our customers, followed by digitalization, which we've already spoken about quite a bit, followed by the products, because at the end of the day, we are still a car selling company. And last but not the least, the network. As far as you also mentioned on electrification, so Audi India decided very clearly as we moved from BS4 to BS6 that we were selling petrol and diesel products. So we have taken a very conscious decision that at this point in time we will only sell petrol cars, also followed by electric cars.
Mr. Khosla, salons, fitness centers, any public spaces really are going to see tremendous change, are already seeing tremendous change even as we continue to cope with the virus. Health, hygiene, safety of consumers will remain top concerns. So, in that sense, what is the big shift that you are preparing for post COVID-19? Some of these consumer habits with respect to health, hygiene, and safety are likely to become long term, aren't they?
I think what is for sure is even the customer is not sure as to what she is looking for. So staying closer to the customer is not a luxury any longer. I think it is a necessity for survival. And I think key is to continue unlearning, learning, and redoing it at every wave.
Right, absolutely. Unlearning and learning and relearning. That's the mantra. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here today and sharing those very valuable insights and experiences into how each of your brands has built endurance over time and continued to stay relevant to evolving consumers. Thanks very much for sharing those insights with us. Until next time, thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.